Hello and welcome. I'm going to be starting a new series, and the main, takeaway, if you don't want to look at the whole video, is that I could use suggestions on a game that you would like to see me recreate. That's it. You can just leave any of that in the comments below if you have suggestions for a game that you'd like to see me make, and you want to just stop watching now, that's fine. The longer version is that I've done some coding before, and I've made some games in college, like in a collaborative environment. I think it's like 2 games, something like that. And it was a lot of fun, and I found out, even though I went to learn some design, that I enjoyed coding quite a bit. And I'd like to really bring coding and programming back into the fold of my general life. I'd just like to do that a lot more. I also like video games a lot. So, what better way to kind of bring programming back in, start learning that, than doing something fun and making something that I can share with other people. So that's kind of why I'm doing it, so I can learn more coding and do it in a way that I find enjoyable. And next part is where you guys come in. Anyone who stumbles across this, I guess during the first couple weeks of it being out, who is most likely just going to be possibly the 8 people that are subscribed right now. But that means your comments will count a lot more during this video, because I just need suggestions on what game would you guys like to see remade. There's a couple things to keep in mind, and I wrote stuff down. The first is art style. I'm not a professional artist, so if there's a game where the main attraction of it is that the art is really, really, really good, that's not going to come across if I try to recreate that, because my art is not going to be that good. And most of the game stuff starts with gray boxing, which is just taking things like basic shapes and just using that as a placeholder in the game that you use until you've got everything working. So if you make something like Frogger, instead of having a little frog that jumps around and all that stuff, for the first 90% of while you're making this game, it's probably just going to be like a circle or a square that moves around. That'd be it. So keep that in mind. Art style. Art's not going to be professional quality. And scope matters to a point. So like if you want me to remake, say, Super Mario World, I'm not going to be remaking the entire game. Chances are I might not even be remaking a zone or a world. I'd probably make a level, depending how fast it goes. I don't know how fast it will go, but depending how it goes, maybe I could remake a couple levels. Whereas if you want me to make something like Snake, a little game where you just have a dot go around and eats apples and gets longer and you try not to run into walls or yourself, that is a lot quicker. You can make that entire game and won't take as long as making a level for like a Mario game, or for Resident Evil making a zone or something like that. So, scope, size, that's something to keep in mind. 2D or 3D, doesn't matter. I'm willing to work on either one for the starting project. So if you'd rather see one or the other, like a 2D Mega Man or Mega Man Legends, which was 3D, that's fine too. Complexity isn't really a limiting factor for me as far as how complex the game goes. So we talked about Snake, really simple game. You just move something, it hits something, and it either dies or the snake gets longer. That's all the game basically does. And then you have games like StarCraft 2 or World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy, which have a lot more mechanics and a lot more depth to them. I'm willing to work on either one. It will just take more time to actually get a finished piece of something. And I'm not doing networking starting out, just by the way. Like, couch co-op would be fine, and couch co-op is just like, you have a controller, someone sitting next to you has a controller, so you have like, 2 players or whatever, and you just play right next to each other. That's fine. You don't have to do any fancy networking for that. But, something where you have to play online with someone else, I'm not doing that for this right now. Maybe at some point in this journey, but right now that's beyond the scope of what I want to go for. And any other notes I have written down here? Oh yeah, there will be AI. So like, if there's a game that isn't a couch co-op game, like, we think of like poker or something like that. If there's a poker game, I will have to make an AI that will play poker against you. Or there's a fighting game, I'll have to make something that fights against you. Or a game like League of Legends or some MOBA. Instead of playing against another person, you'll probably be playing against some random AI that I put together, and who knows how good that'll end up being. Hopefully it'll get better with time, but we'll find out. And I'm going to make these in chunks, and I'm going to put them out in chunks so, like, you know, as stuff gets better and increases and as you see it, I'm also going to put it online somewhere, so if you want to, you can play it while I'm building it. So, you know, if we're working on Frogger and we just have like a little frog jumping around the screen or whatever, or like, you know, probably a little circle just jumping around the screen, I'll have a version of that posted online somewhere, I don't know where yet, where you'd be able to just go to that version of the game and, you know, just jump around. And as I got more stuff like added, like logs and traffic and that type of thing, I'd update it and you could play the most recent versions. So you will be able to play these as I'm improving them. At least that's the goal. I guess the last thing is just leave your suggestions in the comments. Hopefully I get some suggestions because that makes it easier for me. If not, I'll just kind of choose something and just like some examples. We could have anything from, like I said, Snake, any type of board game turned into like a digital version of it, so like, you know, Life or something like that. Could be thrown out there. Stuff like Hearthstone, Magic the Gathering, StarCraft 2. I don't know if I said Final Fantasy, but Final Fantasy, Space Invaders, Pac-Man. You know, pretty much anything you can think of, I'll try to entertain, make into a, and look at it if I can make it into a digital version and see how that goes. And this is all going to be done with the thought of learning how to make these games. And there'll be a bunch of different videos, so if you just care about like how the game's going, want to play the game, there'll be videos for just, here's the game, here's what it looks like, and here's where you can find, like, you know, a link so you can download it and play it. And there'll be stuff that's more behind the scenes, like, you know, this is the stuff on the language I'm using to program it, this is the development tool that I'm using to make it, and blah blah blah, all of that. So if that sounds cool at all, or if you'd just like to see me make some kind of game, please feel free to leave that in the comments. And I'll probably wait about a week, maybe 2 weeks, to see if I get any suggestions. It just depends on if any suggestions come in. And if they don't by, say, it's halfway through October, if nothing comes in by the beginning of November, then I will just choose something and I'll just start making it. So, yeah. Hopefully that sounds cool. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. You want other people to be able to vote and get in on it and see what's going on. And I would appreciate it greatly. Until then, I've been your dad. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.